Hello guys, welcome back to another video, and well, we have some new Jurassic World Rebirth toy images. So, yeah, we're going to go actually look over there. I know some other ones came out a while ago and I did a video on them, but I didn't actually do any talking in it. So I decided to just lump them in here. We're going to cover those first before covering the newer images, but yeah, another thing also, I did another breakdown of the trailer. I'm probably not going to do that video anymore since we had all the figures pretty much revealed. I did pretty much just guessing how I think the, how the waves are going to go, and I actually kind of did get it right. Again, like, I had a kind of more out there prediction, and then I did a more reasonable one afterwards, which we'll cover that at the very end of the video. But anyways, let's jump into these images. First, here's the image of the Eotriceratops and Tyrannotitan, and the Eotriceratops, not my favorite, but I think it actually still looks pretty nice. I'm personally not going to pick up this figure, but I still think it looks like a pretty decent Ceratopsian figure. And then, I do wish it would have had a little bit more paint going across the body, but for the paint we did get, I think it looks nice. And then the Tyrannotitan. Here's the thing with this figure. It's an absolutely marvelous dinosaur figure. It's a really nice figure. One, kind of minor issue. Yeah, it's not a Tyrannotitan. There's literally nothing really about this that looks like a Tyrannotitan. The arms are way too long, the head is way too small, and generally the other proportions are just off, and the entire figure is too small, but just the proportions in general are just off. I know we're getting a Utahraptor and Wave 2, and honestly, this figure already looks pretty much what a Utahraptor looks like, at least, well, we kind of think it looks like it is pretty fragmentary, but I've also seen other people suggest some other dinosaurs that this thing could be. Specifically, I think someone suggested Deltadromeus, and I thought maybe even Bahariasaurus would have worked. Honestly, this just doesn't look like a Carcharodontosaurus, but one of those kind of more obscure dinosaurs I think would have worked a little bit better for this, instead of being a Tyrannotitan. The thing is, the figure is really nice. It even has like a good amount of paint on it, just it's not a Tyrannotitan. Now, here's a better look at the Eotriceratops' head, and I think, again, it looks pretty decent. Though, some people have pointed out the eye placement looks a little bit off, but don't think it looked that bad. I think the frill color is pretty nice. Now we have the Ayani figure, also not going to pick this guy up, but I think it looks pretty solid. Again, many people will point out how the snout is too short, but otherwise, I think it's pretty decent. The paint job is alright. On the back of the box, you can see the Ayani again, which actually on this image it looks more like it has a blue face, which I think would have looked a little bit better on here, but I think the figure is kind of missing it. And then we're also getting Edmontonia. One issue I have with the Edmontonia figure is it's too small. It probably should have been in the Wild Roar size range, but instead it's a Danger Pack figure. Well, it's not even Danger Pack, they renamed it to Frenzy Pack. It's a Frenzy Pack figure, and I think it's a bit too small. I wish it was, again, Wild Roar size range. Otherwise, this figure is perfect, and one of the few ones I think is just generally a perfect figure. I think it's a great representation of Edmontonia, and definitely picking this guy up. Then we have this image that shows off the, Taurovanectes or something like that. Anyways, it looks good. It looks a bit cartoony. Also, just generally the torso is too short. Otherwise, I think it's pretty decent. Definitely going to pick this guy up. I love marine reptiles. And then we're also getting a re-release of the Proceratosaurus figure. So, pretty interesting. Also, guess Procy did end up in Rebirth. Anyways. Again, better closer look at the Ayani. Looks pretty decent. Edmontonia looks great. Proceratosaurus, re-released the Camp Cretaceous one. Taurovanectes, I believe. Looks also great. Again, a bit cartoony, but definitely pick it up. I think the teeth look really good, too. Now, on to the actual new images. First off, we have this image of the Utahraptor. It's a little bit of a closer look, and, well, you can see it looks really nice. It has, it actually has, the paint job looks great. Definitely going to pick this guy up. The wings are technically not perfect. They should go all the way up to the finger and actually go over the finger, but honestly, not too bad. I'm just happy that they gave us a nicely feathered Utahraptor. Honestly, this is just like the best figure ever. Definitely picking this guy up. Now we have the Maiasaura, which also looks great. Good depiction of Maiasaura. Definitely going to pick this guy up. It looks great. You also can see the Tyrannotitan in the background, but anyways. Now onto these new figures, which instead of having, which are the Strike Attack figures, they did keep the name for these ones. And for the Wild Roars, I think I can't really see, but yeah. So the Strike Attack figures, we have a re-release of this. Well, this is actually not a re-release. I could have sworn this was a re-release, but I think I'm just mixing up the colors of the Monolophosaurus that came in the pack with Kenji mixed with the kind of Strike Attack biting Monolophosaurus figure, and that's pretty much what we got. Also, another weird thing is for Camp Cretaceous, Chaos Theory, we got one Monolophosaurus figure. It is a resculpt, and it was kind of a weird-looking Monolophosaurus. Surprised they didn't reuse that for the Strike Attack lineup. I think it might be because they're changing back to the tail. But I would have wished that they would have used the more recent, like the newest Chaos Theory ones that came in the sets with the human characters, and turned that into a Strike Attack figure, because I think that would have been really cool. I really like that sculpt. Anyways, we have Tappy Jar, which is finally getting a re-release. I know some people didn't get hold of that. I was able to pick it up when it came out. Or actually, no, I got it as a gift when it came out. But so I do have the original Tappy Jar figure. But this is not quite a re-release, actually. It actually has different paint. On the wings of the original figure, it has red paint. while on the other hand, this figure does not have any red paint on the wings. So, yeah. Otherwise, it is pretty much the same as the original release. Also, actually, I think it's missing the blue on its face as well. Otherwise, this figure is pretty much the same. And, yeah, I think it's actually really nice that they're re-releasing Tappy Jara. Then on the back of the box, we can see some other species. First thing, we can see the Molophosaurus again, but the weird Ankylosaur thing, I called it. I said, hey, I think my prediction was that it was a Yuxisaurus figure, and turns out it actually was a Yuxisaurus figure. I actually somehow guessed that right. Though there were some other species that I suggested, which I was going to talk over in my other video. I'm probably not going to even, I just want to mention that other video, I'm probably not going to release it with my audio, though maybe I'll just release the slides. But, if you guys really want to see that, comment down below. But, anyways, this is just the Yuxisaurus figure, and I think it looks pretty decent, especially from the other images. Maybe I'll throw some of them in, because I did get some better close-up images in that video. But, anyways, we have the Inostrancevia figure, which, again, that's what the Gorgonopsid is. It actually is Inostrancevia, and though I love this figure and definitely going to pick it up, I do really hope we get a re-release of this figure with a different sculpt, or even just a different species of Gorgonopsid with a more accurate sculpt. Because again, I think the paint job on this looks great, and the sculpt that we do have is pretty good. Just again, I think it's a bit cartoony. Honestly, the only big issue I have is like the actual lips, and maybe the torso is a little bit too thick in the front, and then also the end of the snout is too thick, and also just the teeth are a little bit too exaggerated. But generally, I still do think it's a great figure. Now we have one of the 12-inch basics, back of the box for one of the 12-inch basic figures, and we can see the basically a new one for Quetzalcoatlus, one for the old Pyroraptor and Utahraptor, one for the old Allosaurus and Suchomimus. Then we're getting one for the new Spinosaurus and Rebirth, the new T-Rex, and the new Mosasaurus. Pretty interesting. I actually really wish that the 12-inch basic figures had jaw articulation. That's like the only thing that I really wish these figures had. It's the one piece of articulation that they don't have for some reason. They actually have articulation on the tail, arm, and leg, but none on the mouth. Honestly, I would prefer to have jaw articulation over tail articulation. But either way, it's pretty cool to see these other ones. Honestly, the only ones I would even consider picking up maybe is like is possibly the Spinosaurus or maybe the Mosasaurus one, though. I usually don't pick up the 12-inch basics. Though I am curious, will the Quetzalcoatlus have jaw articulation? The reason why I'm wondering that is because out of all the figures that had jaw articulation, the Pteranodon was the only one. So it's just interesting to see if Quetzalcoatlus would also have jaw articulation. So yeah, now the only slides I'm going to go over from that other video that I kind of canceled going through the toy line are the slides that actually show off that for my prediction on the lines, and I actually kind of got close for some of these. So of course we know the first wave of Wild Roar figures. I did have another, again, the more far-fetched ones. I did actually have Edmontonia as like a wave 2 Wild Roar figure, but anyway, this is one of the more, I'm going off the more reasonable lineup. This pretty much correct, we already kind of knew that. Then for the strike attacks, this one I got almost perfect. Tappy Jara, Inostrancevia, Monolophosaurus, but I also threw the Edmontonia in there because I thought at the very least they would make it like a strike attack figure, but no, it's a frenzy pack figure, unfortunately, and instead Yuxisaurus should be there. The Danger Pack one is another one that I actually got quite wrong. I should switch the, if the Yuxisaurus was replaced with Edmontonia, then that would just fix that. Also, I put the Dilophosaurus figure in there, which I'm curious where that Dilophosaurus is going to be. I'm guessing it's kind of like the Mosasaurus, which has a mini Dilophosaurus packaged with it. I'm assuming this bigger Dilophosaurus might be packaged with the Spinosaurus figure, or they just used it as an example. Don't know. Since, also, again, don't mind me labeling it as Cambarosaurus on here. I did guess Yuxisaurus, but I also came up with Cambarosaurus as another option. So I just kind of picked a random name and threw it on here, so that's why Yuxisaurus is labeled as Cambarosaurus, but yeah, it's on here. Anyways, yeah, just kind of replaced that, and also the Taurovinator. I was kind of curious because the line was already mixed up, because instead of having Ayani, Taurovinator, Edmontonia, and Proceratosaurus, the original list was a re-release of Rugops, if I remember correctly, Ayani, Taurovinator, and then like the Dentyrasuchus or something like that. I actually really hope we get the Dentyrasuchus in like a wave 2 or something, because honestly, it would be a new Cenozoic creature, and I just really like terrestrial crocodilians, so it would have been really nice if we got that. And then, of course, we have the Gigantic Thresher, Eotriceratops, and again, I labeled it as a Cheilontosaurus because I really just didn't think this looked like a... really didn't think this was a actual Tyrannotitan figure, because again, some of the other figures got mixed up at the time, so I was like, hey, maybe they decided to release Cheilontosaurus in Wave 1. But no, this thing's supposed to be a Tyrannotitan so far. I'm just really curious what the heck Cheilontosaurus is going to look like, and also I just want to see that Purosaurus figure. All I'm hoping is the Purosaurus figure, they don't make it too cartoony, since that's already a cartoony looking animal, so if they make it too cartoony, I think they could definitely ruin it, but otherwise, I'm just really hopeful for the Purosaurus figure. Now, this is one thing for the video that I did bring back in. This figure, which is seen in the background, I cannot figure out what it is. If anyone knows, maybe this is the actual Chelantosaurus figure, or who knows, or maybe this could really be anything. Honestly, it may not even be a figure, but I think it is a figure. It's in the background of one of the scenes. You can see it's like near Edmontonia, but you can't see the Edmontonia because it's not in this image. But yeah, I checked and I thought it was possibly the Tyrannotitan figure, but it can't be, since pretty much yes, it has the dark green with the light green, but the dark green's under the tail instead of on top of it. Also, it doesn't have any of the spines from it. So what do you guys think this is? Comment down below. Anyways, what are you guys' thoughts on these figures? Personally, for the Rebirth figures, the whole entire, there's only two things I kind of got to say on them, when it comes, at least when it comes to negative points, is some of them are a little bit too cartoony, mainly the ones that are not in the movie, especially some of those are kind of cartoony, though some of them I think are fine, like the Edmontonia and Utahraptor I think are great, though some of the other ones, again, I think they're just a bit too cartoony, and also just a lack of paint on most of the figures. Again, I don't know if it's just something up for whenever toys released for the movies, they just have a lack of paint or something, because, yeah, there's just not a lot of paint on these figures. But otherwise, I'm really hyped for these figures, and I think that they're really good. So far, the figures we have revealed, I think I'm only going to get probably the Edmontonia, the Inostrancevia, Utahraptor Maiasaura, and maybe I'll throw the Yuxisaurus in there as well. Don't know. Anyways, which figures do you plan on getting for Rebirth? Including like other ones we've had revealed, and what other species do you really want to see revealed and you hope that we get to see it? Cause I think we pretty much have all of Wave 1 really revealed. I kind of want to see what we're going to get for Wave 2. I know, like, I've gotten so many comments from people saying they really are excited for the Utahraptor, which I'm also really excited for. So, yeah. Anyways, I honestly think the two most anticipated figures for Rebirth that we have not seen yet are the, which I think are Wave 2 figures, are the Purosaurus and the Utahraptor. Definitely agree with you guys. But, yeah, anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one, and, goodbye.